Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're gonna be doing another episode. Oh, that is not the right intro. That's a different intro for a different channel. Hello, everybody. We're doing another part of Warhammer lore stuff. Vampires, blood angels. We do love the blood angels, right? Right. Vampire hotties. That is actually kind of canon, unfortunately, and fortunately. Depends, because that depends on how much you like Sanguinius archetype. Mm. But I've been doing a little bit of a dive on saying not Sanguinius, just but like the Blood Angels, the Attack on Ball, their factions, and like other sub factions and stuff like that, like Lamenters and all that. I'm pretty sure those are like a sub faction, maybe. I'm pretty sure they're experimenting, trying to get rid of the Red Rage, or the Black Rage is it what it's called, right? I think it's Black Rage. Right. I do know like the basics of it, the Sanguinius, what he kind of stood for, the Siege on Terra, the Eternity Gate speech, Eternity Gate itself, his fight with a Greater Daemon and Angron, and then his sacrifice, him knowing he was gonna die, his last speech with his other brothers, him being made the next emperor when they thought that they lost. I'm backtracking. It's backtracking because that's how I remember stuff. Um, how much his brothers tolerated him, and what else did I know? Because it's like I think I would take with this, right? 'Cause I do know pretty common stuff. I would not say I know everything, but I do know the common stuff. Oh, I'm trying to adjust the music. What else do I know? Um, I Dante and his whole kerfuffle. That one psyker that's really OP. I forgot his name, but I'm pretty sure during the ball he was like suppressing a demon that wanted to join in and held it off for a while until until it manages to break off into a moon and put a giant symbol on it. We put a whole little hallmark on that. And the fact that the numbers were very thin, and then until Gilliman showed up in the end to help him after the Tyranids really screwed them up. And also the fake water. The fake water they have in the homeworld that dehydrates you. Yeah, I know some basic stuff. So with that being said, let's get into it. Let's see what this guy has to show us.
Hi, friends. Today we're going to talk about some hot Marines. And I'm not talking flamethrowers.
Not the salamanders.
Yes, today we're going to be talking about everyone's favorite, canonically handsome, vampire and jetpack loving, berserker and red
Yep.
space marines,
Yep.
the Blood Angels.
Oh,
But before we get
I
into
was gonna say if I remember right, unironically, wasn't the Blood Angels Korn's first choice of what he wanted to convert? Then it was Dorn, and then when he couldn't get any of them, he said, all right, you're gonna have to do World Eaters. You're gonna have to do World Eaters. I guess. I guess. He couldn't afford he couldn't afford Sanguinius. He couldn't afford Dorn, so he had to downgrade a little bit, a little cheaper, a little cheaper.
But anyways, the Blood Angels were the Ninth Legion and were known as the Eaters of the Dead, named as
Yes,
such for their tendency to eat the
they're
dead.
very
They were
violent.
also called the Revenant Legion by Ultra
That's the one
Chad
I knew more
Malkador,
about.
since the Ninth Legion would often take heavy losses, but they'd always be ready for the next battle. And the Ninth Legion didn't take heavy losses because they sucked at fighting or anything. They
If I remember right, they were pretty much the Emperor's like. I don't want to say the Emperor's anger, because Sanguinius isn't exactly that. But I'm pretty sure Sanguinius shows up and it's like instead of like, oh, I rule you now, it's like, oh, I will honor you, basically, and all of that, and basically pretty much converted all their anger into a productive outset of life by giving them stuff like poetry, drawing, painting, sculpting, all that stuff. Allow them to have actual outlets to push that drive to something more productive, and I'm pretty sure that's how they kind of tempered their uh, rage for a while.
They were actually really deadly warriors, but they were also bloodthirsty savages. The bloodthirsty being extremely literal in this case.
Yes, big
The Revenants were
slurps.
one of the most brutal, if not the most brutal legion of the heresy, and would absolutely annihilate any enemy they were sent
Weren't
after
they
with
close to getting
savage
expunged?
brutality. And due to this brutal savagery, the Legion was generally distrusted by the other Imperials. As such, most of the Ninth Legion were not allowed to wield special weapons like plasma, volkite, or meltas.
Pretty sure they were
Sir,
almost
should
very
we give
close to
those
being
dudes better weapons?
expunged.
For Christ's sake, I mean Emperor's sake, why the heck would we do that? We've been trying to stop these dudes from eating corpses. What, now we're supposed to give them guns to...
If I remember right, weren't they giving them worse gear on purpose and sending them off to more and more and more like suicide missions pretty much, but they kept coming back? It was like on a downward spiral of like, we'll give you less ammo. Oh, we can't replace that armor. Well, you can't have that weapon. And eventually into like, and then they're like, maybe we shouldn't keep them around. They're kind of too unstable. And then the Sanguinius came in and like, okay, we'll keep them,
Cook their meals gourmet style? Are you crazy? Come on, man. Well, I was just asking. So, due to this restriction, the Revenant legions were only given bolters and chain swords, and the tactics that they used in this time are still used in the modern setting. Most notably, the tactic of shooting themselves into the middle of an enemy horde and ripping and tearing with their chain swords. And
Very cool.
luckily for the increasingly less popular
What was
Ninth Legion
that?
swords.
No, I saw that. What is it? What is this? Okay, why would we do? Okay, all right.
And luckily for the increasingly less popular Ninth Legion, the Emperor had found a funky fella called Sanguinius on the irradiated wasteland called Ball. Oh man, I promise, I used to have really nice balls, but the radiation dried them right up.
Okay.
Sure. Sanguinius was a literal angel man. Like the Space Marines are referred to as the Emperor's Angels, but
But this
Sanguinius
guy's
is actually
legit.
how we tend to think of angels. He's
Uh-huh.
got giant angel wings, he's canonically a hottie, and he's one of the most, if not the most, charismatic fellas in all of Warhammer. Also, his name roughly means relating to blood or bloodthirsty, so he's literally a blood angel. But anyways, after meeting the Emperor, Sanguinius instantly knew who he was
I
and
was about to
pledged to be a
say, I'm pretty sure he saw the Emperor and he was like, you know what? Game recognizes game. I know who you are. Yeah, it's that. You know what? Yeah, you him. You my dad. Sure. All right. Let's go. Let's go conquer the universe. It's... And he also has like noticed other things like, hey, why is there multiple souls in you? And then the Emperor's like, smile. Anyways,
fealty to his dad.
shaman
Afterwards,
reference.
the Emperor put Sanguinius and some other ballers in charge of the Savage Ninth, and being the cool dude he was, Sanguinius promised his sons that he would do his darndest to lead them into becoming the very best that they could possibly
That's
be.
his pledge.
He learned the name of each and every one of his warriors, gave inspiring speeches, and reinvigorated his tattered legion. In battle, Sanguinius learned that his sons were blood-drinking cuckoo crazies, and he knew that he had to help them change their ways or else his legion would be lost. So, Sanguinius worked to rebrand his unruly blood boys into the noble, only sometimes vampiristic, blood angels we know and love today.
Only on the
Sanguinius taught his
weekends.
sons some manners, how to control their violent urges, diplomacy, and even how to have hobbies such as painting, poetry, and not eating people. He also had his sons work with Horus's Luna Wolves. In this time, the Luna Wolves were known for their nobility and honor in combat, so they made the perfect big brothers for the Blood Angels.
At the point.
So, from the Shattered Ninth, Sanguinius forged one of the most renowned legions of the entire Imperium. The Blood Angels went from the cryptic weirdos to shining beacons of hope, descending from the heavens to shred heretics. But the red thirst remained deep inside of them, and each angel took it upon himself to keep the urges at bay. And I'll touch on that a bit more later. The Blood Angels were extremely good as melee shock troopers, and they formed a little brotherly rivalry with the World Eaters, another legion of brutal savages. But instead of fixing them like Sanguinius did, Angron just said, these brutal savages aren't brutal or savage enough for me. Get the nails! And a famous tactic of the Blood Angels during the Great Crusade.
Yeah, I was doing a bit of anger on Lore Dive, and that is kind of bro treated his legion so bad. Like that 24-hour limit was so savage, and then the fact that they had to find a I feel so bad his legion psychers. They got done so dirty throughout everything, and I get it was the nails doing, but like still, it's kind of awful in a way since I'm pretty sure if I remember right, um, Angron is like the Emperor's empathy. He could take the pain when nobody else can, and then he got reduced to big angry man. Kind of sucks.
Was something
Not in a
called the
bad way, but
Ultimatum
like
Wars.
tragic.
Sanguinius would come down to the world and give them the opportunity to join the Imperium peacefully, and then if/when they refused, the Blood Angels
Then
would
murder.
give them a little party called the Day of Revelation. Fun events at this party included getting chainsawed in half, getting shot in the face, getting curb stomped into oblivion, eating some pizza, and painting the red guys red. So yeah, basically the Blood Angels followed the saying of the ancient king Tadicius Rooseveltius, and they tried to settle things diplomatically, and
Odysseus
if that failed, they had the
Rooseveltius.
power to totally
Okay.
annihilate the planet's forces. And this tactic worked very well for the Angels, since Sanguinius was both extremely charismatic, but also an exemplary warrior who was
he was
able
an
to
amazing
handle his
warrior.
big stick well. So many worlds would
That
voluntarily
picture, the
surrender either because
court.
Sanguinius was just such a cool dude, or because they feared the wrath of the Blood Angels. Then, those who didn't surrender, well, they became examples of why the first option was probably the best one. The Blood Angels' favored tactic was to do quick planetary assaults, heavily utilizing drop pods and thunderhawks. Once surfaced, the Angels would emerge and engage in savage melee assaults, notably using a lot of jump pack marines. This tactic is still done in the current timeline with little changes, and the chapter is also mostly Codex compliant, other than a few special units that we'll touch on later. But anyways, when Horus turned traitor, Sanguinius' Angels were shocked since Sanguinius was besties with Horus and his legion was very close with the Luna Wolves. Horus did not want to fight the Blood Angels, so he sent them far, far away and set up a trap for their arrival. At Cygnus Prime, the Blood Angels were ambushed by a huge chaos force. It was there that Sanguinius learned of Horus's heresy from the legendary bloodthirster Kabunda. Then the two had an epic battle.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
awesome
their legions
battle.
also had an epic battle. Eventually, in their epic sky battle, Kabunda temporarily knocked out Sanguinius, and with their Primarch seemingly down, the Blood Angels momentarily reverted to their savage berserker ways. This allowed them to vanquish the demonic hordes. The Angels regrouped with Sanguinius, and thinking the Emperor was dead and the Imperium lost, the Blood Angels, Ultramarines, and Dark Angels created Imperium Secundus, where Sanguinius was made
the
Emperor.
king, Emperor
However,
too.
Sanguinius had a vision that the Emperor was still alive, and the three legions made a mad dash to Holy Terra. Of the three, only the Blood Angels made it to...
It's just... I just got the image in my head, and now I'm sad now. When do you think we'll see each other again? Oh, my voice Sanguinius. I think I'm my mic there. Give me a second. Let me lower. My voice Sanguinius. You poor man. Oh, he's the optimist. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Terra, since the other two performed a rear attack on the Force of the Chaos. On Terra, Sanguinius and his Angels absolutely wrecked Hog. Sanguinius had a rematch with Kabunda, banished him, fought Demon Primarch Angron, banished him, and then killed a bunch of other...
Not even banished him. Bro pulled out his nails from his head, who are ingrained into his brain, and made Angron beg for mercy. Okay? Angron begged for mercy. That's not something you could just make anybody do, okay? Especially a Primarch who's on rage roids times 20. All right, like it was great. But my boy had such a good streak, but it had to come to an end. I'm not gonna lie.
And this all culminated with a fateful assault on Horus's flagship, the Vengeful Spirit. Sanguinius went ahead of Dorn and the Emperor and fought through the treacherous corridors of the ship. You see, it was important to him that he confronted Horus first, since Sanguinius had foresaw his death at the hands of Horus, and he felt that he needed to confront his brother. Although Sanguinius didn't know if his prophecies were truly destiny, either way, he knew he had to face Horus. Either the prophecy was true, and if he didn't die to Horus before the Emperor fought Horus, then it would mean that Horus survived his battle with the Emperor in order to later kill Sanguinius. Or the prophecy was false, and Sanguinius would actually be able to help his father kill Horus without getting absolutely curb stomped.
No, it was true.
Or another interpretation is that Sanguinius felt that he had to die since he feared becoming a servant of chaos. But this is getting a bit confusing, so we'll just have to explore this more in a future Sanguinius video. Anyways, though, Sanguinius finally engaged in an epic duel with Horus. At this point, Horus was mega roided up with the power of all four chaos gods,
undivided.
and on the other hand, Sanguinius was still battered and beaten from all his previous badassery. So, even though Sanguinius was arguably the best duelist of all the Primarchs, Ascended Horus absolutely annihilated his brother after he realized that Sanguinius would never turn to chaos. The death of Sanguinius is one of the most important
It's one of the most famous art pieces.
Not only was his sacrifice seemingly crucial in the Emperor defeating Horus, but it also caused the Black Rage to manifest within his sons.
There it is.
The Black Rage was yet another personality quirk.
The most horrible version of main character syndrome is what this is. Thank you for the head rubs. Thank you, chat. It's the most horrible version of main character syndrome because they literally get transported into the eyes of Sanguinius, seeing Horus there, and he's gotta kill Horus. Right, he's got to kill Horus immediately, now, today. Right, it's great, horrible,
the Blood
but
Angels
like
had to deal with. Angels afflicted with the Black Rage are overwhelmed with visions of their Primarch's death, which makes them go insano style, literally. They start to think that they are actually Sanguinius out to kill Horus, and they start murdering anything in their way. The Black Rage makes them super strong, super violent, and super wacko. Other than some exceptional cases, the Black Rage is basically a death sentence since the Marines are lost in their insanity. With that, it seems a good time to talk about the Blood Angel's gene seed. Sanguinius' gene seed gives the Blood Angel aspirants vampire fangs called Angel's Teeth. That's bad. And it also makes them total hotties. That's good.
Yes.
And it gives them the aforementioned Black Rage along with the Red Thirst. That's really bad. Except for when it's good, of course. The Red Thirst gives the Blood Angels an insatiable craving for blood. And if they go too long without drinking blood, they slowly get weaker, get depressed, and age quicker than an Astartes really should. Usually the Blood Angels get around this by drinking donated blood, but just like how fresh squeezed OJ is much more refreshing and delectable than the stupid shit from concentrate, fresh blood from living victims is a lot more satisfying to the Angels, and it rejuvenates them more efficiently. Additionally, if a Blood Angel drinks too much blood, they turn into a man-bat-esque monster and go a bit nutty. So, you either become a yucky old man, ew, a literal monster, ew, or a guy who has to track his diet, ew.
No, tracking diet's great. Gotta get your macros in. Come on now.
And their final notable flaw is the Black Rage, which I previously described. Blood Angels also have a disproportionately high amount of Psychers, and their Psychers are some of the most powerful around. For example, Mephiston is one of the strongest,
this is the one,
the strongest Space Marine Psychers around, and he has insane feats. And the Blood Angels also have their exclusive Psyker Dreadnoughts. That's right, baby! Wizard Vampire Coffee!
I was gonna say, I love the memes that have been seen around about Blood Angels being thieves. And oh my god, the most hilarious memes I've seen is Tarns the Infinite and Blood Angels fighting to steal stuff, or when there's like a bunch of Blood Angels carrying a dreadnought from the Ultramarines. Like, we're gonna paint this red and it'll be ours. I've been loving seeing those memes. They've been absolutely hilarious.
Woo! Expanding on that, let's go on to the special units of the Blood Angels. To me, this is one of the coolest things about the faction.
Alright.
They have some of the absolute coolest bespoke squads of all the Space Marine chapters. First off, there's the Death Companies. These are berserker squads made up of Marines who have fallen to the Black Rage.
Yeah.
The ravenous Astartes.
Just throw them in there
jet black
and say have fun to anybody in there.
They pick their weapon of choice, and then they're put into stasis until they're needed. When the time calls, the Death Company Marines are dropped into the most dangerous vital positions led by chaplains in hopes that they could go out in a blaze of glory. The chaplains try to keep the frenzied Marines in check and direct them to the foes most in need of a good
Good
old-fashioned
killing.
bloodthirsty killing. Often, these superpowered Marine squads are super effective and able to take down armies before perishing themselves. However, if they do somehow survive, they're often mercifully culled by the Blood Angels' High Chaplain, Astrorath the Grim. Then, on the other end of the nobility versus savagery spectrum that the Blood Angels need to balance are the Sanguinary Guard. These dudes originated as Sanguinius'
Yes.
honor guard in the Great Crusade, and in the current setting serve as the ultra elites of the chapter and Dante's honor guard. These dudes are totally
Dante, my
badass.
boy.
Their traditional equipment
My
is
boy's Dante is going through it. He craves for death. Please. Please let me die. Please, I gave it all I had. Let me die. I gave you all I had. Sanguinius is like, well, we accept. I should accept your resignation application. Unfortunately, due to contract terms, you have another couple weeks of work, and then promptly sends them back. And I think Winnie is just like, "I'm sorry," and then Dante is just like, "No, no, 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 no! Come on, please!" No, we got sent back.
an angelic suit of
Boy's a
golden
little
artificer
salty.
armor, sometimes fitted with badass death masks. They get badass
He's an old
wrist-mounted
Marine
guns, including
too.
bolters, inferno pistols, or plasma pistols. Then, to complement their wrist guns, they get a choice of encarmine glaives, spears, swords, axes, or power fists. Bad ass. And they also just look
They
really
look
wicked
great.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Yeah, they used to look really wicked cool. For having some of the more interesting bespoke units with cool designs, Blood Angels get absolutely fucked with their models. Other than the Lamarties and kinda Ashtorath, I guess, the new Blood Angel models just absolutely suck in my opinion. Like, what the hell did they do with the Sanguinary Guard? They literally just look like slightly fancier jump pack intercessors. And oh my god, the Death Company, they're literally just intercessors painted black. What the hell? These new models embody almost every single reason I don't like the new models that much. Unnecessarily making things sleeker, getting rid of cool details to add
I mean, the
dumb
one on the
shit like a
right looks
million
cool.
pouches and tactical stuff. They lessen the cool exaggerations, and overall the new models just look so damn sterile. Like, give me back my damn nipples and wings! And they done primarisified the Sanguinor. No! Speaking of the Sanguinor, let's talk about him a bit. The Sanguinor is a mythical warrior who manifests in the most dire of battles to help turn the
Right,
tide.
right. I forgot about this. Right. It's like a visage and everything. Pretty sure in the Battle of Ball, uh, at least throughout most of it, he wasn't there. Pretty sure he was somewhere else. I forgot somewhere else because if I remember the timeline right. At the same time this was happening, the guard fell before the planet did. What is that planet called? Not Krieg. Uh, how am I blanking about this right now? But there's a very other important battle happening at the same time in another part of the system, and I'm pretty sure it was there. If I remember right, it didn't show up until later.
Of war for the Blood Angels. His true nature is debated among Blood Angels and other Imperials, some believing him to be a wayward soul seeking redemption, some think that he's simply an hallucination, and others believe him to be a manifestation of the remnants of Sanguinius' spirit. Whatever the case is, everyone knows that he's a total badass. And speaking of total badasses who wear a mask of Sanguinius, we got Chapter Master Dante,
Dante.
everyone's favorite depressed old man.
Yeah.
Dante is the oldest non-dread loyalist space marine, and he was special from the very start.
I think it's sad for the fact that if we were ever to get that damage, they would 1,000% put him in a dreadnought. No, I feel so bad, but they would put him in a dreadnought.
From a young age, he had visions of the Sanguinor, and during his aspirant trials, he had more visions, and some theorize that he defeated the Black Rage while in the aspirant sarcophagus. Through his life, he would continue to have visions, the most notable of them being Papa Sangi telling him that he's a very, very special little guy and is of
Mm-hmm.
great importance. So get up, Dante, you're not allowed to die yet.
Yep, you're not
And I'll
allowed.
touch more on him in a future video, but finally, I just want to say Sanguinius should never, ever, 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 ever come back to life. I say this because I see an alarming amount of people online saying how cool it would be to have Sanguinius come back
No,
because
no,
he's such
yeah,
a
I
cool
agree.
guy.
He shouldn't come back.
La-di-da, toodly-doo. Imagine how great it'd be if he was in 40k. Blah, blah, blah. No, wrong. Sanguinius would literally be the worst Primarch to come back and would honestly irreversibly hurt the narrative and themes of 40k if he were to be resurrected and get his fancy $200 40k model. 40k is a setting of stagnation and decline. Every faction is in a stalemate because no matter what they do, they just cannot get their trump card to work. The Imperium will never get his shit together, the Necrons will never awaken enough, the Tyranid fleet will never arrive in full, and chaos will always be chaotic. That's the point! 40k is a unique setting in how it perfectly primed itself to let the fans of it create their own stories and wage their own wars. Everything is written to be roughly equal power, and every faction hates everyone else, so you can justify pretty much any game matchup and homebrew. The setting should never progress on a large scale because that would be thematically inconsistent and hurt the hobby aspect of the game. I already don't like the trend of every Primarch coming back, but Sanguinius returning would be vastly different from Guild.
I was gonna say, I don't know. Well, I get that from the game standpoint. As a story standpoint, they kind of been bringing everybody back. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty sure Logar came back. Snaky Boy Fulgrim has come back. The Lion has come back, and then also the Gillimans, but that's kind of more of a dated one. He came back. Um, and then there's been whispers of Dorn coming back. I'm pretty sure. Um, and then the Legion of the Damned. Pretty sure. I don't know. It kind of feels like they've been setting it up, and with Fulgrim coming out with that sword that the Eldar need is also gonna be like a something for their plot point. The Tyranid fleets have kind of been also rummaging through enough. I feel like I don't know. They've been kinda slowly, very methodically, and slowly moving towards something. I don't know where we're gonna get it, but it's kind of like they're kind of setting up a lot of things that to a big event, right? So I don't know if I'd be okay with something like that happening. Um, Me personally, I'd love to see it. Would they ever do that though? At least anytime soon? Probably not, because they like their money. But it'd be very interesting to see. I'm not gonna lie. Um, so yeah, I don't know how to feel about this.
Gilliman or the Lion. Gilliman worked for me because his story of being a legend out of time, seeing his worst nightmare manifest, while also basically being a god who doesn't really have power to make any meaningful change is pretty interesting and doesn't actually have to change the setting as much as it seems, assuming they don't add anything too crazy, that is. Likewise, the Lion so far seems to just be a mega strong warrior. To be
Well, I don't know. I don't know about that because, well, one, he survived the God Blight and burned Nurgle's garden, so that's already like something. And I know it was the Emperor taking over his body, but that's already one, right? Two, he's already survived so many different iterations. He got the sword of the Emperor. He, you know, he made I missed this. It's fine, chat. It's fine. Also, ow, that hurt. Um, and the Lion got the Emperor's shield, could teleport anywhere, perfect counter for Angron, got and is aware that Gilliman's alive and is with and also met Dante already. So it's like it's kind of like, culminating together. Um Now, of what Primarch I think I'd like to bring back, right? That I'd be really like to see. There's like three of them, right? Um, I know it's not Conrad. I'm thinking about but the Crowman. Crowman. I always forget his name. I always forget his name. Um, I know he was harassing Logar in his tower, and then Logar is back, so we might see Crowman return. I heard something about Dorn too. I wouldn't mind him coming back. And then if I had to pick another one instead, I'm trying to say, if there's like one, just one, if I get one back, I wouldn't mind if it was that one or that, or the Khan, yeah, the Khan. I wouldn't mind if the Khan would come back either, out of the webway, maybe. You know, I wouldn't mind that either. Those are the three. If any of those come back, I think I'll be okay with it. Any other besides that? I don't know about that.
Honest, I haven't read much Lion lore, but if that's the case, that's fine too, I guess. I mean, I prefer to have not had it happen, but whatever. But Sanguinius coming back would be world breaking simply from a symbolic level. It would essentially be the resurrection of hope for the Imperium on a scale that would far outclass even Gilliman. It would invalidate his hugely meaningful sacrifice. It would
I
fundamentally hurt the
agree.
Blood Angels' culture of sacrifice, and it's just really so unnecessary. I really hate the comic book mentality that every single character needs to come back to life. It kills investment in characters since who cares what happens if they just come back later? That is why the immortal characters of 40k get their asses kicked all the time. Like imagine something really stupid like a Fortnite event proclaiming somehow Sanguinius returned. That would be really fucking stupid. And surely no huge beloved space franchise would ever do something so dumb, right? I hate Star Wars. Also, Sanguinius coming back as evil Sanguinius or something is also really stupid. Just let dead characters be dead. Also, the loose Holy Trinity thing that the Sanguinor, Dante, and Mephiston have going for them is way cooler than Sanguinius literally getting resurrected. These three having
Oh, I was thinking. Also, if what's his name? Red Boy. Psyker powers. What's his name? What's his name? Something did nothing wrong. I'm remembering all their things. Pyramids. A thousand suns. What's his name? What's his name? What's his name? What's the Primarch's name? Um, Thousand Suns Primarch. Why am I forgetting the name? The Thousand Suns Primarch. Red Boy, Magic Boy, Wizard Man. What's his name? Of course, I can't remember his name. Magnus. Also, if Magnus, if his if his empathy uh shard turned well, no, helped us out, or was maybe joined us, because I know there's an evil one, right? The big one with Thousand Suns. If maybe we had like a conflict where between that Magnus versus the Magnus we get on our side, maybe one of the shards, which I know there's already shards already kind of helping us in some instances. So I think that'd also be another good use, right? Now we have like a 50-50. We have one side, they have one on their side, and one have on our side, And I think that'd be cool. Um Anyways, I just want to say that.
echoes of Sanguinius' soul guiding them to kick ass across the galaxy is much more thematic. The idea of legends of the past inspiring warriors of the present to desperately fight for the remnants of a time lost is just so 40k. But you can't sell a model for that now, can ya? Ugh! But yeah, with my two Insano rants out of the way, that's the
He
Blood
is a
Angels. Very
very
cool chapter. I think of all the chapters, they have one of the coolest aesthetics, if not the coolest. The bold red looks great next to the golden commanders and elites, and also the Death Company, of course, looks badass with the classic black and red. Plus, jump pack marines with giant chain swords, that's just super freaking cool. I love eviscerators. Them being vampires who like to write poems is just a cherry on top. I really love how they really embody the 40k Frankensteining of ideas to make something really cool. But yeah, let me know what you think about these thirsty hotties. Do you think jump packs and chain swords is the coolest shit ever? Or do you think hot vampires belong in teenage girl fiction? Whatever it is, let me know in the comments. And again, thank you to World of Tanks for sponsoring this video. Remember to click the link in the description and use code COMBAT to play this awesome tank combat game for free and get awesome bonuses. And of course, thank you for watching, and thank you to my patrons who help the channel grow and let me make cool videos. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, and consider sharing to all your bloodthirsty noble berserkers. Thanks.
That was good. As always, the original video will be linked down below. Go ahead and check that out. It's good content. It's good content. I enjoyed it very much. It was great, and I'll probably check out more of his content. I liked it. I like doing this. I like talking about Warhammer. I'm probably gonna start talking about it more. Maybe do more Warhammer content. Ow, chat. Why? But yeah. Besides that though, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll be checking you guys out on the next one. Until then, see you guys.